Please excuse my underwear. I'm about to make a phone call because I'm at that point now where I've just had enough. Darren's gaslighting me, saying, I have many times said to you that I feel bad about what I've done, playing mind games. Right, I've got to go. Bye. And then hanging up on me. And now I can't get hold of him. Please excuse my underwear. I wouldn't normally do this. But Darren, in case you see this video, I've got nowhere to dry my underwear. I've been self-funding hotels, and I've got. I'm just. I had the police in this hotel room asking me about Darren's assault of me, but I've just seen a video. I've watched some very shocking police brutality. I mean, we are now heading towards a revolution and or a civil war. I've had abuse in the hotels. There's so much to say, but I'm going to make a follow-up video after this one because there's too much to say. I'm going to have to let the solicitor know about this because it's no good, all this toxicity and narcissistic abuse, because this involves his friend. And I'm going to ring his friend, and I don't care if I make this public. So I'm sick, Darren. I'm sick of it all. You're never going to change. You don't hang up on someone. You don't treat someone like this. So I'm going to ring Charlie, because Charlie never apologised to me. Charlie wrote a letter to the House of Commons. He was meant to be apologising to me for his treatment of me at the Eastbourne People's Assembly. And one of the organisers said, we won't tolerate bullying. And instead of apologising to me, this is when he took photographs of what the police did to me. Now, Darren is blaming my sisters for everything, which is interesting because I'd had no contact with my sisters since my mother died in 2009. I had a tiny bit of contact with them. But Darren has done all these things. He's left me to sleep rough. Oh, it's always stress. It's always a reason, isn't there, for doing something. But a man of Yahweh doesn't shout and swear and use the F word and also assault their partner and say, oh, I did it because of stress. No, a man of Yahweh will come to his girlfriend and say, I did that to you and I shouldn't have done that, and I have a conviction within me to apologise. But he hasn't, and he's just hung up on me. In fact, like I didn't get a happy birthday. He's done so many things, and I've been going to other people saying that I feel bad, I feel bad, I feel bad. I'm a rape victim. I had domestic abuse before he came along. I know, and I dealt with all of that on my own. But since Darren has come along, I've had all this police abuse, police physical. I'd never been arrested before until Darren came along. And then Darren has also been arrested for his. And now it's just like the walls of hell have just ripped open. Again, I'm sorry about the underwear here. I should really take it down, but it's drying and I've got stuff everywhere. It's not normal that he won't let me in his flat, but he comes in here shouting and swearing and using the F word because I didn't wash my hands is emotional abuse. Because I go and pick up a vegan sausage roll and I'm not washing my hands immediately. That's an overreaction. It's not on. It's not on. Now, as it was, I didn't press charges over Darren assaulting me for no reason. So I'm going to ring Charlie, and I'm going to ring his friend um, Gurmit, and I'm going to live stream it. I'm going to put it on YouTube because it doesn't make any difference. How can Darren swear about my sisters, my disabled sister? He's swearing about my disabled transgender sister, swearing about her. I gave her a hug, and she said she'd get a mediator to her support worker swore at me, but she was going to get a mediator for us. And then who, if it's not Darren, who has made all these false claims that I was shouting transphobic comments? This was between me and my sisters. But you know, our Saviour said that those who stand by and do nothing are complicit in the abuse. Now, as I said, Charlie was supposed to apologise to me for his friend was supposed to apologise to me for swearing at me, not swearing, sorry, for joining in with some bullies at the Eastbourne People's Assembly. Every time I went to open my mouth, they just didn't want me to speak. Yeah, that's demented in itself. Now, the People's Assembly are there for the people. Now, if you gang up on one person, so as I said, Brian, one of the organisers, had said I complained to him about the bullying that involved Charlie, my partner's friend. And in the next meeting, he returned and he said, I will not tolerate bullying. So a few weeks ago, when Charlie was supposed to be apologising to me, instead of apologising, he said that I swore at him. Yeah, that makes sense. Now, he and Darren's behaviour, my partner Darren, both their behaviour has been very peculiar. Very peculiar. Now, I'm extremely vulnerable because he took this stupid caring role through Care for the Carers, and this abuse is continuing. So, why would my partner scream and shout at me to prosecute him in the house of a landlady who is facing prison for what she did to me? So, whether he's encouraging other people to abuse me or not is neither here nor there, because he should not be behaving how he's behaving. So, bearing in mind, I'm dealing with all of this on my own. I did paid care work 20 years ago. And at the start of my relationship with Darren said, I don't want to add to your problems. So, I do believe in our Heavenly Father, Abba Yahweh, and I believe in the Bible, but he's preaching, and anyone who says that Darren's behaviour is unacceptable, he'll attack them. This is what the devil does, for crying out loud. But you see, the problem we face in today's society is you're getting it everywhere, which is why people are leaving this country, and we are about to become, which is why I've been using thousands of pounds of my late father's inheritance on hotels, whilst illegal immigrants are put up in plush places, entering the UK illegally in dinghies, and why I've been threatened with being a political prisoner. Yesterday, the phony bail conditions were dropped yesterday. Now, Charlie took photographs of the injuries caused by the police. I've been sexually assaulted by the police. I've had, PC Mufali and PC Howard May EB334 expose my breasts when They grabbed me 5 days after I reported common assault. This is what's going on in the UK. And I have just, I'm, the reason why I'm making a video looking like this is because I feel I'm shaken up just watching a YouTube video by LSB Films production. Shocking footage of police brutality over council fraud. I want to read out section 135 of the Criminal Justice Act 1984 because one of the people who's reading out the police corruption is I mean, this was a big guy. This is a big guy that he's all muscly. He's been thrown to the ground. I also saw a YouTube video of a woman, a police officer who's been put in prison for 4 months for it's ironic that I've got my knickers here because I've just seen police footage of a police officer. It's not funny. In prison for 4 months and footage of him for his footage of his crime, which is taking knickers out of a woman's drawer, stealing them and putting them in his back pocket. These are the most vile, most dirty, most filthy. We've got paedophiles, rapists, wife beaters in the police force, and they are the most dangerous individuals. They are demented, you know, that they are, yes, they're NPDs, but you can't, we live in a society where you can't turn to anyone. And I'll explain why, because I spent time with a New Zealand GP who witnessed me being abused by one of the hotel managers. You see, where are Darren's parents in all of this? If they care so much about me, where are they? Because their son is preaching the Bible to me and his behaviour is unacceptable. He's assaulted me. I didn't press charges. I had the police in this room because of his behaviour towards me. So I'm about to ring Charlie. Charlie will ignore me. I know he won't answer the phone. But Charlie has written a letter to the House of Commons about me, which I've got a copy of that letter. But it's making me question because he's got his mental health issues. Darren's got his. So why is Charlie then calling me a stupid idiot in a text when he's taken photographs of bruises caused by the police? And he and Darren are chatting to each other on the phone like they haven't done anything wrong. They've been verbally and physically abusive. And then they're doing a Bible study. Now, I wouldn't have a YouTube channel if they weren't treating me like this. Got a landlady who should be in prison, and I'll come to that in a minute because I've had an email from the solicitor who's taken over from the abusive Mr. Hold'em. This Marion on YouTube, who's a victim of an illegal eviction scam in Bexhill. She's a retired forensic lawyer, 86. I want to go and meet her because you can clearly hear her saying in the YouTube video that Mr. Holden has got 16 pages of corruption against him, including sexual harassment, and that he married the 74-year-old victim to make it look good. I've got more to say in this video because the hotel guest that sexually harassed me, according to the manager of this hotel, Amal, he quote unquote pissed the bed. and paramedics came for him, and he's not coming back to this hotel. So that's interesting. And it's interesting because I thought he was talking about his employee, his Basil Fawlty employee, who I witnessed assaulting another member of staff in this hotel, a boy. He's like an Indian Basil Fawlty, this person that I'm speaking about. And he's not from Eastbourne, he's from London, but this member of staff in this hotel threatened me with police. Wait for it. One day after PCE and Williams, the same welfare officer who arrested that animal rights activist, who you can clearly see being assaulted by a fox hunter in Lewes. Go to her YouTube channel, it's Gem269. And he said to me, you can't. Now, I'm an amateur YouTuber, which is why you can't hear the two police officers in the background, because my sound system is appalling. I've just got a laptop, so you can't hear what they're saying. But PCE and Williams said I was just following orders when he arrested the animal rights activist. You know what? I feel like I'm going to actually vomit right now because of the stress. Just had my partner hang up on me. He preaches, but he's not taking seriously his controlling behaviour. And the thing is, this is where me, I've got to stop disassociating. Because you can say what you like about the Bible. Yes, we know the Bible is true. But if you're not going to take responsibility for your emotional abuse, then this is desperately serious. Because I'm about to call Charlie. I'm also going to call Gurmit. And I don't care who hears this. Because if you've got nothing to hide, if you really do care about me, you wouldn't let this happen. And it's not on, Darren. It's not on. I did not say I wanted you to be my carer. I went along with this nonsense from the ex-MP because I'm extremely vulnerable. I've lost my mother. I haven't been to my late mother's flat since 2009, and I had threats to stay away from her flat or go to prison for doing what my partner Darren suggested, which was to leave a card and flowers for my sister. So he is blaming my sisters when his own behaviour has been abusive. But I hadn't even seen my sisters for years. I hugged my sister. We didn't have a problem. We disagreed with each other. She didn't like the fact that I call her a she. But I have been sexually assaulted as a rape victim by the police. And I have just been triggered because I've just seen filthy, disgusting footage on Carl Vernon's YouTube channel of a police officer going into a woman's drawer, taking out her knickers and putting them in his back pocket. And he's been jailed for 4 months for doing that, this pervert who was searching her house for whatever. And this woman had to go through. I know there's an irony because I've got my underwear up there drying, but then I've got a landlady who should be in prison. I shouldn't be in this hotel. And by the way, the local MP hasn't got back to me for months. The caseworker hasn't. Ewan Morrison, there's something very, very strange going on here. And my partner is mistreating me and saying that his abuse is okay. It's not on, Darren. It's not on. And you've just hung up on me and I can't ring you back. Bye, he said. A man of Yahweh does not do this. I'm starting to feel suicidal again. I've had an email from the solicitor saying he's got a legal aid certificate to take action against this landlady who should be in prison, but he still needs to get a legal aid certificate to take action against the council. The MP caseworker was supposed to look into why my garage storage payment to the council, my garage storage at 13 Rockhurst Drive, was sold without my consent. So I've got possessions in storage with the council. What has happened with that? So there's a lot going on. So Darren, he wanted to be my carer because he wanted that control. You don't leave your girlfriend to sleep rough and make excuses. You don't assault your girlfriend and say, I did it because of stress. Why did you take a caring role through care for the carers otherwise? This is very serious. Why scream at me to prosecute you, Darren? There is so much. You can use whatever excuse you want. There is never ever an excuse. You've just hung up on me because I said to you, you've never come to me with a conscience saying you feel bad, and yet he's always preaching the Bible to me. I have many times. I'm going, okay? Bye. You see? And so everyone is just, and as for all these other people in the background who aren't doing anything, Darren's parents, over 9 years of council and police abuse. Darren's parents, there's been no, is she okay? I've still got a bag of gifts for Darren over there. I've had no but belated birthday card from him. So that little teddy bear that he's given me that says home on it, and I'm saying to him, you're just doing this to torture me. There's no genuine, where's the sorry? Where is the sorry? So I'm going to ring Charlie right now because I want to know why once again Darren has said that Charlie has apologized to Darren about me, but Charlie hasn't apologized to me. So this is the second time that this isn't making any sense, is it? Charlie, bearing in mind that Charlie and my partner Darren do a Bible study, but he's not apologising to me, he's apologising to Darren about me. But I've only got Darren's word for this because Darren, I'm not allowed to touch Darren's phone, but he looks at my phone and deletes a text message from Charlie that I never read. He has no right to delete a text message from his friend to me, but he did that. So I want to know what is going on. So I'm going to call Charlie and ask him why I didn't get an apology for him calling me a stupid idiot. Because it's very serious that Charlie had texted me to say, I can't cope with this. You're causing me distress. Talk to me through Darren. I said, if you're able to send an email, a letter to the House of Commons about me, a very, very articulate email from Charlie Burgess with my reference number, if you have the ability to do that, then you have the ability to be an adult and to give me an explanation and apologise. Because Darren is swearing to me, saying it's my sisters who are abusing me. You can't pass the buck. I didn't press charges over Darren's assault of me, but it was very important that I let the police know that he did that. So I'm protecting my partner and that is emotional abuse. See, he needs to at least meet me halfway and say, look, I did a bad thing and I'm sorry. but there's nothing genuine coming, nothing genuine. So I need to speak to Charlie. I need to speak to his friend Gurmit, who 9 years ago was aware that Darren took this caring role, and I want to know what's going on here, because I just can't cope with this. His friends have abused me. His Christian, they're all Christians. His friends are all Christian, but notice how they're all abusing me. His friend at the food bank who's got possessions of mine, who didn't give them to me but gave them to Darren. So that's Steve Churchill, who works for the food bank warehouse, who gave my things to Darren. See, this is really very, very serious. Social services, someone should be helping me, but no one is. And I'm telling my YouTube channel this, so you're hearing it from the horse's mouth. You're hearing it from me, from the horse's mouth. Because I can't do this anymore. I lost my flat of 7 years. When Darren came along, I had already gone to court, Hove Crown Court, and the Rape Victims Centre in Crawley. I did all of that on my own, and I put someone in prison for 2 years and 10 years on a sex offence register. I'd lost my mother and been through domestic violence. I went through all of that on my own. I'd been in that flat for 7 years. Suddenly, Darren comes along. He takes a caring role through Care for the Carers. He went to Caroline Ansell, and suddenly I've lost my flat. And all these things start happening. But he's trying to make me see that he was struggling. Well, then, if he was struggling, why did he take a caring role? But everyone's passing. People have come in and abused me and used Darren as a scapegoat. It is just pure evil. Call a spade a spade. I am ringing Darren, Charlie, sorry, and I am putting it on loudspeaker. And if he doesn't answer, he doesn't answer.
It has not been possible to connect your call. Please try again later.
Oh, well, that's very strange. Well, so I can't phone Darren or Charlie now, but that's fine because I'm going to send them both a text message. Oh, now it's ringing. It is ringing now. Charlie's number is ringing now. I can't do this. I'm starting to get suicidal thoughts.
Welcome to the Tesco mobile voicemail service. The person you're calling is unable to take your call. Please leave your message after the tone. To record your message again, press hash at any time.
Hello, Charlie. It's Bryony. I do need to speak to you. This is very serious. You struggle with anxiety, so do I. You wrote that letter to the House of Commons, and look, this is really very, very serious. I don't want to have to do this, but I have to. I have to report this, okay? Because it involves Darren, and he's being emotionally abusive. I told you that he assaulted me and I didn't press charges the other day. Darren has been arrested in the past, okay? And he is using my sisters as a scapegoat. I hadn't seen my sisters for years. Darren is also being used as a scapegoat by others, but you and I have never You were meant to apologise. Darren said that you apologised to him instead of me twice. Twice this has happened now. You were meant to apologise about what happened at the Eastbourne People's Assembly, and Brian said he wouldn't tolerate bullying. And then you lied in a text saying that I swore at you. I have never sworn at you. I was handled it extremely well, and you know that because I remained very calm whilst that woman with autism was screaming and shouting at me. You just didn't like me opening my mouth to speak. You said this is not the Bryony Assembly. Well, it's not the Charlie Bully Assembly either. And Juliet said she that you could be like that, and then she turned funny. But the point of the matter is, you sent me a verbally abusive text calling me a stupid idiot. And Darren said you did the same with him. I'm not playing games with either of you. This is so serious, Charlie. And neither of you are, you know, I have never ever been abusive. You're supposed to be apologizing to me, and then but instead of apologizing, you're calling me a stupid idiot. But you are not. If you have the capability to send that letter saying that you're my friend and advocate to our local MP, to the House of Commons, then you can speak to me about it. You know that this it's otherwise. What are you doing? You're taking. What are you doing? You're just taking instructions from Darren. And you're doing a Bible study together. This is so serious because I'm going to text my sisters because Darren is blaming my sisters for when he has been abusive. He screamed at me to prosecute him. You think that that's normal? What if I press charges against his assault on me? I'm a vulnerable adult. I've been through domestic abuse. I've put someone in prison for attempted rape and on a sex offenders register. And I've had it again in these hotels. I've had so much and I'm dealing with it all on my own. So please, I'm just asking you very nicely because you and Darren.
Time up in 10 seconds.
I just need to speak to you about this. Because as I said, I didn't authorise this letter that's got my reference number for you.
Your
And
message is too long. Message saved. Thanks for calling. Goodbye.
yeah, that happens all the time. It reaches a capacity and then I can't do anymore. I can't cope with all of this. So this is what happens when you cry out for help in the community. People exploit you, they take advantage. It's just a never ending story. But it's nothing, absolutely nothing surprises me. You could say anything and it wouldn't surprise me because, like I said, I'm just hearing endless horror stories. So, even what happened with this GP from New Zealand, I'm going to pause this video and I'm going to speak about it in a minute because I'm hanging on by a shoot, like by a thread. We are heading towards a civil war, and I'm glad. I'm glad about it because things have got to get so bad in this country before, I prefer to use the word revolution. But as this GP from New Zealand said to me, he said, you've obviously got the gift of prophecy, which is what I myself have discovered. that 20 odd years ago I said that there'd be riots, and I didn't even know what I was talking about. But that social worker landlord that allegedly died of cancer, who said that he'd get a good pension out of exploiting me and my mother, he said I knew too much when I knew nothing. I was in my 20s. But people are automatically afraid of me because, and I get that now, all but so my therapy is seeing all this mental illness around me. Yes, it's killing me, but it's also my therapy, because you you just yeah, well, anyway, I don't need to, that's obvious. I know lots of people are going through nonsense, but I'm having to be superwoman. Darren is encouraging my faith. He's encouraging me to pray. He's saying and doing all the right things in that sense. And I'm trying to get the balance right here, because he's only human, as is Charlie, as am I. But trying to make me feel like I'm the bad one because I'm letting my feelings be known, because I'm letting Darren know my feelings at being hurt by this abuse and neglect. There's always seems to be an excuse, and I'm a bad person because I'm letting him know that he's hurt me. So, but that's the emotional abuse of using the Bible, which I believe in, and scripture, and saying, to to it's all deflection. And he's now using the same words that I'm using, deflection. See? So, yeah, I am starting to feel suicidal again. But anyway, so I've had this email from the solicitor, and I've got to email him back. I think I'm going to have to make a complaint just to cover my back, because I need to let him know what's happened in the hotels, and I'm going to come to that. I'm going to take a bit of a break. I'm going to pause this video. I'm going to pause this video, and actually, it might be an idea to make a call to Gurmit now. Darren's friend Gurmit. She's an ex-Sikh turned. She used to be a Sikh, and then she became an evangelistic Christian. Because the thing is, this involves Gurmit knows Darren's friend Eben, who is a Christian, and I stayed in Eben's flat when Darren was arrested over assaulting me in her flat. Darren assaulted me over a set of Eben's keys. Now, like I said, bearing in mind I'm extremely vulnerable, and this flat that I was in that belonged to Darren's friend, and Darren was arrested in her flat, I then went into a brand new supported accommodation flat, which the council and the police horrifically, horrifically beat me and assaulted me and arrested me. So, on news of my father's death, I'm going to have to take a break because I do actually feel very sick right now. I'm traumatized just from watching a YouTube video. Go to LSB Films Productions YouTube channel, because section 135 of the Criminal Justice Act 1984 tells you everything you need to know about how the police can serve up to life in prison for what they've been doing to us in this country. Because the thing is, what happened was Darren's friend threatened to dispose of my possessions. Even though I fixed her washing machine, I cleaned out the filter, I left a bouquet of flowers for her, I explained that Darren had been arrested in her flat because he assaulted me over her keys. And I do believe this is why I lost a lot of blood. And where's the concern? Now, what really annoys me is I had this voice message from Gurmit saying I didn't say anything about Darren's mother being sick, but she sent me a message saying this is what she sent me. I didn't send her a text saying that.
No call. You have no new messages. And 8 saved messages. Saved messages. Hello, it's Sophie from the lesson specialist. I've got your message has been saved.
So that's Gurmit. Obviously, she's using the word COVID, convid. So she's in a different place, I suppose. I didn't say anything about Darren's mother being ill. I sent a text to Darren, to Darren's parents, to Charlie. Darren's parents, I've had absolutely nothing from them since I've been in a relationship with Darren for 9 years. Darren left me to sleep rough. Darren took a caring role. He can be emotionally abusive. Now, if he's not going to admit to his OCD, then I'm just going to have to put it down as controlling behaviour because that is what it is. Whether you like it or not, Darren, that is what it is. You can't use my sisters as a scapegoat. You can't swear about them and say, well, you told me this and I told you a lot of things about my sisters. My sisters are nothing to do with your behaviour. Stop batting everything between each other. Because I haven't even read Tanya's text message. I haven't even read it. They went through my father's things without me, which is illegal. I was locked out of that supported flat. I could just be making myself very, very ill by doing this. But I don't know what else to do. So I'm just gonna pause this video. Then I'm going to make a phone call to Gurmit. Because if any of them really cared about me, like Terry, he said to you and Morrison, Terry from Weatherspoons is Darren, and he said to, I was crying in his flat and he said, I love you. He said he thought that Darren and Charlie are gay. That's really, well, I laughed while I was crying, but um, and he said to you and Morrison, we live in a democracy. Now I feel like I'm going to throw up. I actually feel like I'm going to throw up. This is how people get cancer. This is how people get strokes. This is how they get dementia, Alzheimer's, take your pick, heart disease. I was locked out of the supported accommodation flat in distress at the news of my father's death. I can't find anyone, and I mean anyone, who's got any level of mental capacity. So I'm watching these YouTube videos. I went to Let Women Speak. I spoke out in March about what I've been through. It's on YouTube. When I returned to Let Women Speak, I had bruises on my body caused by the police. And one of the women said, "Well, why didn't Kelly J. Keane let you speak?" So Kelly J. Keane didn't want me to speak. So again, Kelly J. Keane is behaving no differently to my sister's support worker who swore at me because I wouldn't call her a man. So it's like this controlled opposition kind of thing. It's this you know the opposite but the same. So it's just the UK is now just so rife with all this narcissistic abuse that there is nowhere to turn to. Who do I turn to? I'm about to send an email to this solicitor saying what happened in the hotels, and I haven't come to that yet. I'm going to pause this video, make a cup of tea, and try and phone Darren's friend. I can't cope with this. Darren's friend, Gurmit. So much that's not making any sense. So I'm just going to pause this, have a cup of tea, and when you've got a police officer telling you to go to back to Let Women Speak, but the reason why I went to Let Women Speak was because of what the police had done to me. And Kelly J. Keane doesn't want me to speak again, but a police officer is telling me I should go back there to speak to her about what they did to me, and she doesn't want me to speak. So I'm sorry, Kelly J. Keane, you, but I'm not sorry because you behaved like a bully with your own when that woman who does the filming and the Irish woman. So what, I can't take you seriously now when I see you being interviewed and speaking to other people. It's just like my partner. It's all this. It's like my partner and my sisters. Oh, she this. You're behaving like children, but the frightening thing is this is the whole of the UK behaving like this, and my whole entire life has been gearing up to this. This is why my mother, who would be 87 now, she said to me just before she died, she said, "You're so mature." She said it to me with tears in her eyes. And I already know that, but I needed to hear it from her. And it was only right until the end of her life. But the thing that's really disturbing for me is I've been left now. She's left me alone to deal with all these. Well, all you can do is pray. It is like being at Alice in Wonderland. You're dealing with all the demons who are using the truth and Abba Yahweh to deflect their own wicked behaviour. They're using the truth for their own mind control. I said to Darren, I said, look, forget MK Ultra mind control. You're just another flavour of it. So, as I said, this has all got to go somewhere. I'm the victor. As Robert said to me years ago, I'm the victor, not the victim, and even he treated me badly. So, you know, they'll all treat you the same because they've all got their issues. Just spent time with a GP practitioner from New Zealand who was appalled at how this dodgy Pakistani manager, Muslim manager, treated me. He wanted to give me a copy of the Quran. That's weird. He gave copies of the Quran to his guests. What happened to the Gideon's Christian Bible that they used to put in hotel rooms? But this GP, even he's got issues and he seems well adjusted, but he lost a mother to suicide. He's giving out hormone treatment to people. But I had respect for this GP until the last minute when he said, I'd like to invite you into my hotel room, but I'd want to kiss and cuddle you. And this is a GP, who gave me a piece of paper saying I can help you. I think what really depresses me is the fact that he's from New Zealand and he's gone back to, something. I was telling him about what my GP practice have done to me and the corruption, and he said, well, it wouldn't be like that in New Zealand. We have a process and a procedure. They can't just change your GP practice. They can't just. Oh, I said, this Dr. Caro, who was meant to write a letter to the council on my behalf, threatened me and Terry from Weatherspoons with police because we asked him to contact the MP caseworker who is meant to be doing what the district judge told him to do. And I've got it in writing from a Dr. Webborn that I'd lost a lot of blood just weeks after the landlady committed a, a crime that's up to 2 years in prison, locking me out of the house. And in the meantime, they're beating me, sexually assaulting me, false allegations over a civil matter, threatening me with being a political prisoner because I won't call my sister a man. And this GP, Peter, who came here for Airborne, which is the event with the aeroplanes and all that, there's an event in Eastbourne where it's just noise and aeroplanes and toxic fumes, more chemtrails, as it were. And I've forgotten what I was going to say now. Um, uh, that's it. Peter, this GP from New Zealand, he knows, by the way, he knows who Kelly J. Keane is. Being a general practitioner, he's aware of what happened to her with that awful footage where all those people mobbed her in New Zealand and her life was put in danger. Um, I mean, it was very traumatic to watch. And that's why I used to have so much respect for Kelly J. Keane until she didn't want me to speak about my trauma with all those bruises of what the UK police did to me. Because New Zealand is a place that my late mother, I was telling Peter, that was my mother's most favourite place in the world. She wanted to settle there. She's got a friend called Vicky in New Zealand who is my eldest sister's godmother. I don't think I met Vicky, I'm not sure. And then they've got Sylvia in Canada and Anne in Brooklyn in New York. My mother lived in all these countries, and and as I said, I've been threatened with being a political prisoner just for showing love to my transgender sister, but because I won't call her a man, and there's something going on here. But yeah. So I've got claims to make against the police. Why is Darren not helping me? Where are his parents? Where's the love? Don't talk to me about the Bible if you're going to preach the Bible but you're not actively going to support. Love is a verb. Darren said it himself. So anyway, like I said, I had a really long chat. I even went for a meal with him. I got ripped off at Harry Ramsden's though. He split the bill and I ended up paying more for my pie and chips, and it was horrible. I didn't even eat the chips. The pie was hard, and it was a lemon cordial, and it came to £16.99. So all I had was an orange squash and a pie and chips that I could have made a better meal than that, and it was 16.99. He commented on how reasonable it was, but I was just being polite. But I felt really depressed when he said, I'd invite you back into my room for a cup of tea, but I'd want to cuddle and kiss you. Now, Darren agreed with me that that's an inappropriate thing to do and say. It's an inappropriate thing to say if you're a GP because you're supposed to, like a school teacher, you're meant to be professional in your everyday life. But obviously, I've got footage of the school teacher tenant calling my partner a cunt in the house of this criminal landlady who should be in prison. So there's a lot that's happened. I'm just going to pause this video and make a cup of tea, and I'm going to try and ring Gurmit because I just can't cope with all of this. And I need to email this solicitor. This landlady has still got my valuables. Mr. Holden has got all the information this man is asking for, and I've been deregistered from my doctor's surgery with a severe disability, illegally homeless. It's not on. It's not on. And I'm feeling suicidal. You can't. They're just all these phone numbers, all these text this number, shout. The free speech union was a joke. Everything's a joke. Be there on the 13th of September in London to support Tommy Robinson. I haven't been put in prison for being a political prisoner, and I'm going to support Tommy Robinson. So I'm just going to pause this video. I'm going to come back. I'm going to make this phone call to my partner's friend now. I appreciate that what I'm doing is potentially dangerous, as in making a YouTube videos, which I've been doing for the past few years, documenting what's been going on, what's been happening. It's certainly been an eye-opener, but the thing is, I would not be making these YouTube videos if it were not for the fact that the local authorities have allowed this abuse to happen to me, and they are part of that abuse. So it's not going to make any difference because it's going to go somewhere. We're heading towards, the UK is heading towards a civil war, and so as I said, the UK is heading towards a civil war slash revolution, which I'm a part of. I'm a survivor. I'm a survivor. Do you know something? The biggest thing, the biggest achievement ever is to be a survivor of narcissistic abuse. Now you can say whatever you like. You can Every human being is guilty of being narcissistic. We're not necessarily all capable of being a narcissist, but we're all sinners. And there's a line that you draw. There is a line. And like I said, I wouldn't have made these videos if I wasn't scared, if I wasn't frightened. So I've made my cup of tea, so let's do it. I'm going to turn this slightly this way because I don't necessarily feel comfortable. May just have to leave a voice.
Welcome to the EE voicemail. I'm sorry, but the person you called is not available. Please leave your message after the tone. After you've finished your message, just hang up. Or to hear more options, please press 1.
Hello, Gurmit. It's Bryony speaking. I do need to speak to you very urgently, please. It's not easy for me to say this, um, but it um, it involves you. I know that you know Eben as well. You know Darren was arrested, um, and quite recently he assaulted me, and I didn't press charges. But there has been ongoing emotional abuse, not just from Darren, but also his other friend. Um, because this involves also his friend at the food bank. I am homeless. I've got a landlady in contempt of court. There have been a lot of things that have happened to me since I've been with Darren, and he's blaming my sisters, even though I hadn't seen my sisters since my mother died in 2009, and someone is stirring up a lot of trouble for me. Why would he scream at me to prosecute him in the house of a woman who is now facing prison? I really need to speak to you, Gurmit, because I know the discussions you've had with Darren. You know, this caring role thing. I did care work over 2 decades ago. You're saying, I need to talk to you about his OCD because he needs to be honest. I haven't seen his parents since the start of our relationship 9 years ago. He left me to sleep rough. Where's the concern from his parents? Where's the love? Now that there have been other things that have happened, I've been attacked to the point where I thought I would be killed by convicted criminals. Darren's friend is a Christian. He wrote a letter to the local MP. It's very articulate. It's very personal about me, and he was abusive to me at the People's Assembly. He's deluded, uh, and he was meant to be apologising to me, and he sent me a verbally abusive text message the other day. And Darren's okay with this, and they're doing a Bible study. So, Gurmit, I do need to speak to you, please. And this involves Eben. You know Eben, Darren's Nigerian friend, she's got possessions of mine. Darren was arrested in Eben's flat, and I really, really need to talk to you about all of this because I'm extremely vulnerable, and you know that, and I have to report it somewhere because I'm extremely vulnerable. I don't have anyone. You were saying that I caused him made him ill. But you knew when I was in the police cell that time. I've never been arrested until I've been with Darren, and Darren had also been arrested. And I can't count the number of times this has all happened. But there's a lot that's happened. I've never known so many demented lunatics in all my life. Everywhere, all this narcissism and toxicity. And of course, I suppose you know what's going on. Do you know? I mean, unless you're brainwashed by the whole COVID thing, because you did mention COVID. Um, I mean, I'm going to go to the Freedom Rally again. You know, we are heading towards a civil war. I've been threatened with being a political prisoner over my transgender sister. Uh, there's a lot of weird stuff going on, very evil, and all satanic. You know, my love for my and concern for my sister has been inverted into something evil. My love and my concern, she's now apparently disabled, got a life-threatening aneurysm, and my physical health has been affected. I lost a lot of blood when I was locked out of this house in July last year, and I've got it in writing that it could be life-threatening, and now I don't have a doctor's surgery. That because the MP caseworker. Oh look, I'd have to tell you, I can't, but I do need to speak to you, please. Um, I don't, you've got my number.
To listen to your message, press 1. To re-record your message, press 2. To continue recording your message, press 3. If you are happy with your message, press 4. Message sent. Goodbye.
So I've sent a message to Gurmit. I was just saying my mobile number, so I had to blank that out. It's very dangerous making these YouTube videos, but the whole idea is because when you're extremely vulnerable, and I keep saying the same thing, people will do what they're going to do. People will do evil regardless. And I've got no control over that. But when I call it out, the way our Saviour Yeshua said, we must call it out, and I'm calling it out. But Darren is right about a lot of things. He said, there's no point in me saying I'm sorry if I'm not sorry, if I don't feel like saying it. No, I don't just want to fake sorry. So he's right. So if I'm not going to get a card from him saying I'm sorry because he doesn't feel like it's going to be genuine. But what I don't understand is, why would you run away from your partner who is crying and hurting because you haven't given her a happy birthday, and you're storming away, screaming and shouting, which is then antagonizing your girlfriend? So the devil provokes a reaction. So the devil is making he's allowing the devil to make him say these things to me to provoke me. So of course he's going to get a reaction from me, and that's not my fault. Because then I then shouted at him things that aren't in my vocabulary. I said you whatever. So he shouted back at me that I was a whatever. And I'm the one who's crying, and it's like someone has stabbed me through the heart. And yet I got a happy birthday from my ex-boyfriend, whom I haven't seen since when my mother was alive, which would have been 2008, 2009. That was the last time I saw one of this particular ex-boyfriend, who said happy birthday in March in a text. But my current partner, Darren, is not saying happy birthday. He's running away from me. So as I said, when I reached out to a caregiver who took over from the late Alan Horvath, I mean, Darren and I were sitting here last night listening to that beautiful song by Alan Horvath, who has since passed on. He died in 2019, I think. And that song, say your prayers, say your prayers tonight. Don't miss out on the love that he brings. Abi Achwa. And because of my partner's ongoing emotional abuse, he can label it as whatever he likes. The fact is, he's neglecting me. Now, I understand that he is struggling because he can't cope. I can't cope with it, with what's going on. So that's where I'm forcing myself to stay calm because I know he can't cope as much as I can't cope. But there has to be a line, there has to be a boundary. And my pain and my hurt has to be obviously validated in the same way that I mean, Darren hung up on me before I started. The reason why I was going to make a YouTube video anyway to say what has just been happening to me this over the weekend, but I the reason why I felt the need to talk about Darren was because he'd just hung up on me. Um, when I just said to him, um, you know, I, Darren, I've been crying to you and other people about how I've hurt you, and it's genuine. I genuinely feel bad because I've got a conscience, and I genuinely feel pain that I have caused you hurt and pain. Even though I was lashing out in tears, I lashed out at him once. On one particular occasion, I lashed out at Darren, and I don't excuse lashing out at him, even though I was crying and hurting because of him. I don't excuse any kind of abuse. I'm always coming to Darren and saying I feel bad, I feel hurt that I've hurt him. And this then causes a massive confusion in me, in here and here, in my head and in my heart, because I'm not getting it back from him. Not that I necessarily expect that he should behave the same as me because he's a different person, but his response to me before making this video that prompted me to like I'm carrying the weight of the world. Not just I'm not just carrying the weight of the world. I'm carrying the weight of all these problems, my problems, not other people's, just my problems. You know, I've got a lot of problems, and I'm not getting help with them. So I'm not talking about all the stuff that's going on in the world. I am specifically talking about people go on about people have started being nasty and they've changed since COVID, convid. I call it convid. I'm one of the ones who calls it convid. Right, people will never ever know. I could get a million people who know what it's like to lose a mother and to be alone and struggling. And not one of those people will ever understand what I have specifically been through on my own. They may say they understand, but you can't understand because you're not that person. You're not going through what they're going. You don't have their feelings because we're all different. We all process things differently. We all have different emotions. We're all feeling different things, even when we're experiencing the same thing. So And it just annoys me that people don't even bother to try and understand. Instead, they exploit, they abuse. And not only has it happened to me, I've seen it happen to many, many people in the psychiatric unit. People who've been a victim of horrific things. And yes, I do believe them. And before you say, oh, they could be lying, well, anyone can lie about anything. But it says a lot about you if you're not going to believe what someone is telling you, especially if they're opening up to you. The first thing you should do is believe them. Innocent till proven guilty, you don't just think, oh, they're lying, because that's pretty mental in itself. You don't just assume that someone is lying to you or lying to your son or lying to your daughter, although that can be understandable in a world that's full of distrust. But I've always believed what people have told me, and that's where I unfortunately have been the victim of so much. I'm constantly being caught out. This landlady said she'd help me write a book, and I thought, be careful, Bryony, she could be another funny one. And just she's not a little nice old lady. She's not a little old lady, nice old lady. No, she's an 86-year-old who's quite fit for her age, behaving like a child. They get worse with age, narcissists do, and she was going out of her way to take advantage and exploit me because she only admitted right at the end that she was friends with these property managers who were protecting convicted criminals who were mentioned in the national news. So, anyway, I'm going to say what happened in the hotel because I've already said a little bit about it. What happened in this hotel, this Kiwi man, this GP from New Zealand, and I went back to the hotel that falsely accused me of this, that, and the other. And then I spoke to the hotel owner. I went back to that place. Honestly, Eastbourne is a breeding ground for all sorts. Anyway, I'm just going to pause this video, finish my cup of tea, and then I will finish documenting. I'm just having a cup of tea. A cup of tea. I'm having to make this video in increments because I honestly I feel really very, very ill, very ill. And just watching these YouTube videos of just watching what is going on out there is making me very, very ill when I'm already ill. I can barely. I mean, it's like what that MK Ultra victim um, said. Um, Kathy, Kathy O'Brien. That's her surname. Kathy O'Brien. It You have to get lots and lots of rest. So so basically it is very draining, all of this. Very, very draining. And I really do feel very, very sick. Being homeless, self-funding hotels, I really do feel like I'm fighting for survival. I feel very, very, very ill. So just, the mental battle, the putting on an act, the pretending that I'm okay thing when I'm not okay, it is very, 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 very draining. But just watching the videos of these horrific things takes it out of you. Like the police, like I said, the police brutality and everything. So this is a very, very long video, and I'm gonna cut this really. I've been making this video for an hour and 20 minutes already. I just feel I'm very frightened. I'm very, very frightened. I'm in a catch-22 here. So whilst I am protecting people that I know and love, regardless of whether they're abusing me, saying what they're doing, blah 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 blah, I still have to protect myself and them. I'm in a catch-22. It's no good my partner saying, well, if you're going to make these videos, change your setting on who views the videos. Well, that would defeat the object, wouldn't it? What difference? What would be the point after everything that's happened, even before I had a YouTube channel? What would be the point of me changing? That would just be pointless. If my partner is saying change my YouTube setting to private, but that's taking the piss, because then only I would be able to see my YouTube videos, and I'm not just going to sit here making videos when I might as well just be talking to myself, which is something I do anyway. So the whole idea is to put it out there, put the truth out there, and if it helps other people, then it helps other people. For the sake of sweet sanity, I'm very frightened that I'm not going to get through this. I said to Darren yesterday, I said, people said to me when my mother was dying and I was in that hellhole opposite this hotel called a supported accommodation scam, a social worker landlord scammer. They're all scammers. They're just, our government are exploiting all of us. My mother was dying of a rare cancer, my soulmate mother. My mother's friends said to me, you can't be Superwoman. And I said to Darren yesterday, that is exactly what I've had to be in order to survive. I've had to be. People just don't survive. People in my position, they end up taking drugs, become alcoholic. They don't sit around drinking a cup of tea. Yes, that's a cup of tea. I've just poured tea on myself. Hang on a minute. I've just poured tea on. Well, that was clever, wasn't it? Yeah, I was just proving to the camera that I drink tea, and I just poured tea on myself. All of this has all got to go in the wash anyway. This is not a good day. So I'm a tea drinker. Yeah, I once got teased at a stand-up comedy because I'm a sensible English, old-fashioned lady who has got no vices except for drinking tea, and yet she's got working class trauma. Had a very middle class upbringing, but working class trauma. I've been Superwoman all this time, so I've gone through all this stuff. Anyway, I'm just going to keep to the point now because, like I said, if there's anyone out there who could possibly find me someone who can support me, seriously, I'm clutching at straws here because I had a cup of tea and a meal with a GP from New Zealand. If you're not from New Zealand, the UK, or Australia, a GP is a general practitioner. They are your general everyday doctor. And like I said, I told him about what my GP practice put me through, the Lighthouse practice, who deregistered me. Now I've still got to send this email to this solicitor. And I really am very, very stressed. So, and I just felt very disappointed that this man Peter, I had a nice time with him, but he had to ruin it all by saying I would invite you up to my room, but I'd like to kiss and cuddle you, when I'd already told him I've got a partner called Darren, and I had told him some very personal things. So, and as a man, not a GP, he sounded lovely. He really, honestly, I would love to have him as my general practitioner, but, and Darren agreed with me on this, a general practitioner should not be behaving like that. He said, well, maybe he's got a wife. I said, no, it doesn't matter. I don't know. No, he hasn't got a wife. And whether he has or not doesn't matter. Let's keep to the point. We both agreed, me and Darren, my partner, agreed that he shouldn't have said to me that he'd like to kiss and cuddle me, because for one thing, he knows that I'm homeless, that that I'm a victim of corruption, that I'm extremely vulnerable. And I just feel depressed now because he's going back to New Zealand, where I know from my mother that New Zealand has got a better standard of living. The system is a little bit the same. Their mental health services are crap. I know that. It's Vicky said that. But I mean, my mother was living in New Zealand in the 50s, 50s and 60s. She lived in America, Canada, and New Zealand. But their mental health system, things are not good. Well, the whole world is messed up now, but especially in the West. Um, China is on our side in the UK. I know that, with this flag nonsense. I mean, I saw footage of, I think, was it Paul Joseph Watson showed footage of a mosque being demolished in China, because in China they believe that Islam is a mental illness. But then, as Darren said, they're using that as an excuse to make innocent Muslim people prisoners of war. So that's what you expect with all this nonsense. It's all nonsense. Everything to do with politics. It's all BS. It's just, we say this but we do that. Look over here but don't look over there. Distraction, distraction, distraction. We know that. Okay. So without wanting to I'm diverting from what I'm talking about. obviously feeling depressed because I want to get out of this country, and then someone from New Zealand affirms. I didn't realise. I thought he was an Englishman until he started speaking. He witnessed this hotel manager being funny. This hotel manager, and I'm not going to say which hotel it is, but back in January, I was in a hotel where I opened the door in my towel, and I was later wearing to this manager of this hotel, this Pakistani Muslim manager, and he later checked on me. I was crying my eyes out because I had had Mr. Holden, this corrupt solicitor, hang up on me, and he did this 3 times. And this time he said he didn't care if the Prime Minister was phoning him. And yet the district judge had told me to go to Mr. Holden and the local MP and the council, none of whom have acted by law for me. So this Muslim manager back in January had come. This is what I was telling this New Zealand GP. This is what I was telling him. So I went for a drink with him, and I also had a meal with him, which, as I said, I paid $16.99 for squash and a horrible pie and chips that I couldn't eat, and it just made me hungry. Uh, um, but it was that initial validation that I needed. And he said to me, I thought you handled that very well. And I needed someone to say that to me. So the fact that it's a general, it doesn't matter who's saying it. If it's a scientist saying it, if I had a scientist validating me, it wouldn't matter. People are people. Doesn't matter how intellectual they are, how wealthy they are. We are all going to be judged on every spoken word and every action by our Heavenly Father at the great white throne of judgment. We'll all be judged. So it doesn't matter. But it did, obviously, because I'm damaged, and because I've had a massive confidence, breakdown, and dealing with all these demented lunatics, because this is a spiritual warfare that we are in. Darren will never be wrong, right? Because Abba Yahweh is the only way. Our Heavenly Father, He is the only way. He's the only way. Otherwise I'll go completely nuts, and put me in a straight jacket, or I'll kill myself. Because Abba Yahweh is the only way in all this spiritual warfare. But having said that, it did make me feel better to have a well-spoken Kiwi GP. Well, he did sound professional until he said he wanted to kiss and cuddle me on the day before he was leaving to go back home. I mean, that just ruined everything. It just like, it's like all your respect for that person just goes, you know. But had he not said he wanted to kiss and cuddle me, I would have kept that respect for him, you know. Because when the police who sexually assaulted me have already investigated a hotel guest for sexual harassment of me in this hotel. And as I said, the hotel owner, Amal, said he's not coming back. He pissed the bed. His words, not mine. So anyway, he and this GP, like most people, know, because I've told people, that I'm a rape victim. and I've been saying everything that's been happening to me, and I pour out my heart, and I said, this is the way I am. This is just me. If I wear my heart on my sleeve, I can't change what I am. I am what I am. I've been like this from day one, and that's the way it is. In a way, I think you, I could, I could be very, very powerful and manipulative because I've got that strength. I could say, no, I'm not going to be hurt, so I'm going to be manipulative as well. But I'm not like that. But there has now got to be a, there's got to be a boundary. There's got to. Because I'm not going to keep taking this hurt from my partner. Because whilst my partner is hurting me, I'm being vulnerable with other men. And as this beautician said to me, shouldn't your partner be concerned about you being sexually harassed? Is he? Is he picking up the phone and saying to Ewan Morrison, the local MP caseworker, I'm concerned about my girlfriend, she's been sexually harassed? No, he isn't. He's just going back to his flat, hanging up on me, knowing that he's got me in a, right? So it's just me and Abba Yahweh against all of this evil. And I've got to say, no, Darren, you can't make excuses for doing this to me. Where's my card? Where's anything? There's no, I'm sorry. No, because you just carry on treating me the way you're treating me. See? People are saying to me, well, how come he's never had a relationship at his age? Some people think he's lying. Some people who claim to be Christian and friends of Darren or acquaintances will say, as Terry did, Terry in the pub, who's supposedly a Christian. Well, people are always calling themselves Christians. He's saying to me, I think Darren and Charlie are gay, while saying, I love you. And I'm getting sick of it because these men keep saying, I love you. Terry said it, but he's not doing anything for me. Oh, well, what do you want me to do? And he's in his 70s. So it's like dealing with adult children all the time, you know? You can't rely on anybody. So, in a way, it could be liberating because you've got that credibility and that strength. It is frightening because we live in a lawless society now where innocent people will be put in prison for their freedom of speech. But we got this war, there are people. Tommy Robinson said that there are 100, um, over 100 people coming from New Zealand, Christians coming from New Zealand to help fight for our freedom. At the Freedom Rally on the 13th of September in London, there are people coming from everywhere. The only thing I have a problem with is we see all of this, but it's like, why did Kelly J. Keane behave the way she did with me? I need women to speak to, but I need real women, yeah? That means I've really got to go to the true source of my true survival because the only person who's getting me through this is me. So it's got to be no bullshit, Bryony. If you don't, I don't need you, Darren. If you're going to do this, you're just hindering me, right? You're not helping me. No one's helping me. I'm doing this. Be a man. Where are the men? Now, this landlady who was told on the 8th of August last year that she could be sent to prison. What have you been doing about that, Darren? You wrote a statement on my behalf. I'll read the statement that Darren typed up, but it's not matching his actions. So Darren has written this statement that supports me against this evil landlady who should be in prison. Because this is, don't you think that all of this is very bizarre to be happening to a woman who's got no friends or family, who's kept away from her sisters for her safety? Then her partner who comes into her life says, I don't want to add to your problems. He then starts doing this. Now he's using my sisters as a scapegoat. This is why I keep away from people. There are so many people out there making YouTube videos about, being a set apart one, a chosen one, a super empath. Because there are many, many people around the world going through what I'm going through. There's a woman in America who makes videos. She was raped in her own home, an American lady, and she's making videos to the chosen ones about narcissistic abuse because we're all survivors of it. And she's saying, I'm speaking to many people out there in Japan, all around the world, all these countries. No, we're everywhere. People who are going through what I'm going through are everywhere. And I hope and pray that there are genuine victims of narcissistic abuse watching me. Not the passive aggressive narcissistic abusers who pretend to be victims. I'm talking about genuine people who put themselves in danger by telling the truth. People like me who have had this evil happen to them by telling the truth. Because our Saviour said, expose the narcissists, expose them. And just by speaking the truth. So anyway, this Muslim manager at this hotel back in January, getting back to that, because that's how I met this GP from New Zealand. He basically um, witnessed me standing up to this Muslim manager because this Junaid, he cancelled my reservation. And he said, I'm writing a letter, I'm typing up a letter. Now, Ewan Morrison, the MP caseworker, was at that time supposed to be supporting me. And he and Mr. Holden, this solicitor who, according to Marion on YouTube, has got 16 pages of corruption against him, including sexual harassment. This Mr. Holden and Ewan Morrison, the MP caseworker, have lied, not they've supposed to have mediated. He lied to the Solicitors Regulation Authority, saying that I didn't instruct him. He was hanging up on me. So I'm going to add to all these appalling reviews online. And this Junaid, who gave me his card that said he was the manager, at the time back in January, he told me to tear it up. I'm not the manager. Well, now he's written a letter signing himself off as the manager. He's a young man in his 20s. What? And I told this GP practitioner what he did in my hotel room. Now, first of all, this was, I think it was on Sunday, was it the 16th of August? This was a few days ago. This was during Airborne. I'd booked in to stay for one night because this hotel was fully booked. So I'm having to go backwards and forwards, which, as you can imagine, is draining when you've got to move bags, constantly move bags and stuff. I got suitcases and stuff behind reception. I'm not going to be able to afford the hotels for much longer because I've spent thousands of pounds on the hotels. So this is Eastbourne Borough Council. They're pure. We're talking about pure evil here. Pure evil. Um, so basically, what had happened back in January? Don't know. So going back to Sunday. So upon arrival, I'm not surprised this happened because he knew that he had been inappropriate with me back in January. I couldn't book the room with my email address. So Darren said, we'll use my email address. So I've used his email address. Now, Darren, this is what's interesting. Darren was supposed to come to the hotel with me and he didn't. So I checked into that hotel without Darren, and the whole idea was Darren was supposed to use his email address and speak on my behalf, which is what my older partner should be doing for me. My partner is in his late 50s. I'm being the man all the time, right? See where I'm going with this? What do you think Yeshua would be saying? What do you think Yeshua would say about Darren assaulting me, leaving me to sleep rough, making me deal with all of this on my own, neglecting me for months on end? Now, obviously, Yeshua knows about Darren's mental health, and that's nothing to do with me. That's between him and our Heavenly Father, right? Of course. But the man has a role to play. If he sees me as his spiritual wife in Yahweh, then I need him to act as one. Because I am not the man in the relationship. I am the woman. I'm below the man. I listen. The woman listens to the instructions of her husband, the man, right? Now, if I'm going to do that with Darren, Darren needs to be a leader. You know, if the family unit falls apart, it's the man's fault because the man is the head of the house. This is what the Bible, this is what scripture tells you. He is the head, the heads. That's why they've got the bull symbol for the head of the house. But I'm doing all of this on my own. So I go to the desk. Now, this young man, this Pakistani man, actually said to me back in January when he was inappropriate with me that in his culture it's very bad for him if I pull him up on his bad behavior, it's very bad for him. And there was a woman on Facebook who's got a friend in the Muslim community who said that what this Muslim manager did was haram, HARAM, which is something very bad in Muslim culture. You know, men are not supposed to be alone with a woman unless she is his wife. Now I don't know this about Muslim culture because I'm not a Muslim and I just don't know about Islam and all that. I don't know this stuff. All I know is that he was inappropriate with me as a woman, yeah. And I said, now he got me to speak to his cleaner, who I already thought was just a little bit funny, not gaga, but I thought there was something a bit funny about her. Now, bearing in mind, she took me to one side and she was wearing a face gag. And, well, that just says it all, doesn't it? Wearing a face nappy in a heat wave in 2025. And she took me to one side and I told her, I said that this Muslim manager, I didn't refer to him as a Muslim manager. I just said he was a little inappropriate with me. And I said a little. So, because I said to Peter, this GP from New Zealand, I said to this hotel guest who I later had a drink with, I said to Peter, I didn't want to make a big thing of it because I feel awkward. And all I said to her was she took me to one side because this Muslim manager had already said to me back in January, I will write a letter to you apologising for my behaviour. He's then gone and written a libelous letter saying that I disrupted other hotel guests because I was in distress, crying about Mr. Holden. Yes, it's a little bit strange, that one, isn't it? That's like saying to a victim of rape, you caused a public disorder by screaming out when you were being raped. It's no different. The concept is the same. Me crying out, yelling in tears, because a notoriously corrupt solicitor, according to a retired forensic lawyer on YouTube, who has got 16 pages of corruption against him, including sexual harassment, and he married the 74-year-old victim to make it look good. This lawyer who said this on YouTube, this lawyer left me in tears because he was abusive to me. Abusive and exploitative of me, a woman on severe disability who's lost a lot of blood, and I've got it in writing from Dr. Webborn that I lost blood. I went into hospital and had an iron infusion because of this landlady, Alice Victoria Scott's crime against me. And I've got to get this current solicitor to get the paperwork from this corrupt solicitor. So to put them write a letter saying, yeah. So you see where I'm going with this. So this GP hotel guest from New Zealand witnessed me humiliating him in front of his other guests. Bearing in mind it's airborne, you've got people coming in by the load. And I said out loud, I said, you were inappropriate with me. You knew that the MP caseworker hadn't got back to me. Ma'am, please let me deal with someone else. I said, no, you're going to deal with me. You need to deal with me now. Now, when he got me to one side with this room cleaner, I knew that she was going to be funny before she'd even opened her mouth. I've heard it all before. She was wearing a mouth mask. The first thing she said to me was, nah, it didn't happen. Nah. I said, so you are accusing me of lying? I wasn't there. Right, we'll make up your mind then, because you're accusing me of lying, and now you're saying you weren't there. Several times she said, why did you come back here then? And several times I explained to her, because I can't afford the room rates of the other hotels, because during airborne the hotels are extortionate. They deliberately charge you extra per night, so it's well over £100 a night because they're raking in the money for airborne. And we'd already established this, and she kept repeating herself. I said, if you take off that mouth nappy, that face nappy that you're wearing, you might be able to concentrate better, because the face nappies have been proven to cause mental disorders. People can't concentrate. In the same way that a smartphone, the reason why I don't have a smartphone, one of those iPhone thingies, is because they are causing people it lowers their concentration levels. I wouldn't be surprised in if a few years' time people are diagnosed with dementia and Alzheimer's because of smartphones. And these are the things that the New World Order wants you to have. That's why I don't have a smartphone, iPhone, whatever you call it, phone. Because I know what it can, these things, I know what it will do to your brain. It will, if you want to fry your brain, and what it's doing to small children, why people are giving their babies smartphones. That's why they are not your baby. If you give your baby a smartphone thing, whatever you call it, your baby is not going to grow up like a normal human being. They'll be like robots. They won't have cognitive function like a normal human. I mean, this is what we used to call common sense. Now we have to call it health and safety. I was just watching what Kelly J. Keane put up in a video. I was just watching the first few minutes of a stand-up comedian at the Apollo. I've been to I've been to stand up at the Apollo nearly 20 years ago now, when Michael McIntyre was starting out. But anyway, yeah, so I told I had a drink with and a meal. Later on, I had a meal with Peter and this GP from New Zealand. I hope he genuinely was on my side about the Muslim manager. He said, I'm going to think of Basil Fawlty now because of you. Every time I think of him. But I hope he was genuine. I hope he wasn't just trying to get something else, because, you know, you just never know with people. You don't know. You just don't know. He kept saying to me, I've really enjoyed our time together, and I said, so have I. But I didn't say to him, you've actually taken away some of that respect I had for you, because you said you wanted to kiss and cuddle me, knowing that I'm homeless and my partner's abuse, and I didn't say that to him though, did I? And this Jesse, I don't know if he's ever going to look at my YouTube channel again, but Amal, the manager, said that you're not coming back here because you pissed the bed. His words, not mine. The manager of this hotel. So, you're shouting, telling people to F off, and I thought you were a nice guy. And then you made advances on me and came into my hotel room when I asked you to leave. Peter actually said to me, this GP from New Zealand, he said to me, do you think maybe he was trying to take advantage of you, knowing that you were a bit dopey, that you'd just taken something to help you sleep? Who knows? It wasn't Zopiclone, it was just over the counter stuff that begins with D. Um, I hate being vulnerable, but it's also kind of interesting as well, because my suffering and my struggling is also going to be my ultimate. The more I suffer, the more that they keep abusing me, the more that people think, oh, I can keep doing this and that, the more it's going to harden my heart. Not in a bad way, Abba Yahweh said people's hearts will be hardened in these last days. But I need my heart hardened, not in the satanic way, obviously, in the fight the good fight way. So so anyway, yeah. So I told Peter what the this June aide did. He put his finger on my knee. I was wearing pajamas at the time, and I later said to him upon checking out, I said that I didn't appreciate the comment he made about me wearing a towel, about being naked, because he denied saying it. So the thing about narcissists is they deny what they've said, they panic. I've just had a text message. They panic. Darren has just sent me a message saying, please see message I sent by email. Because obviously I'm very upset. I've sent him a text message saying I do kind things, and you still continue to abuse me. I've fought to get a solicitor. I can save you the stress of showing me love and giving me a birthday cards. Go ahead and hang up. Whatever you and Charlie do, if you can't be adult about it, I have to report it as a vulnerable adult. You stormed away from my agony and tears. Men of Yahweh don't do that. I've sent him a lot of other texts as well because it's like a pressure cooker. So Darren's right about that. It's like a pressure cooker, all this stress. But anyway, so I said to this GP from New Zealand, I said to Peter that he put his finger on my knee and he said, do you mind me doing that? And I said, well, actually, I do. Um, but I said, I'm not always as forthcoming as I could be, especially when you're extremely vulnerable. You don't always say what you want to say. Now, this manager had said he could give me a room and charge me so much. I just no, honestly, no one in this country should be in this position. But this manager had tried to give me a copy of the Quran, which I thought was weird, and I didn't like it. It it's a very strange thing to do for your hotel guest. Like, I wouldn't expect an English hotel manager to try and give someone a copy of the Bible as such. So it's a bit strange that he tried to give me a copy of the Quran, and he said he had given another hotel guest a copy of the Quran, so a long-term guest. But the fact is that this manager who told me to rip up his card that he wasn't a manager, it's very, very, very dodgy behaviour. And this hotel had already been taken over by him because the last person who managed the hotel was an Iranian guy who managed the SDR living place that I was locked out of by the council on news of my father's death. And that's when it was the famous Linwood Saffron. And the night porter was sacked after 25 years of turning up drunk. And the food bank, the Trussell Trust did nothing about it. So there are a lot of people, a lot of charities and support services that they're just all there under our local government, and they are exploiting us, but they've always had an agenda to kill us off. And a lot of people are now waking up and they're saying that they're using mental health and disabilities in the UK as a way to lower our population. So if they can kill you through suicide, which is mental torture, section 135 of the Criminal Justice Act 1984, you can do it psychologically, you can do it physically. They are kicking people out of their homes and putting illegal immigrants in them. They are doing this in the West. So this is not just on a local level, this is on a global level. And this is what I was trying to say to Peter, this GP from New Zealand, who has witnessed me being abused in a hotel that he was staying in as a holiday maker. He had come over to Eastbourne, the UK, for airborne. He had got on a plane from America and come to Eastbourne for this and witnessed me, an Indigenous person who's a victim of political corruption. He'd come from America, and I told him about Tommy Robinson and Donald Trump. I even said how this Junaid, this manager, had showed me videos, tried to explain what's going on in Pakistan and the beheadings and stuff I don't understand. This young man in his 20s is, trying to explain to me why he thinks Tommy Robinson is a bad person. Yeah, right. Um, and he thinks that the illegal immigrants have got it bad. And this Muslim manager has been inappropriate with me and tried to give me a copy of the Quran. Bit weird, that, isn't it? And I told the MP caseworker Ewan Morrison that, and he's just ignored me. He's ignored my emails. He's ignored my voice messages. So they've got my blood on their hands, Eastbourne Borough Council. This is why these things are happening to me, because there are people panicking because of what they've been doing before they even, people I don't even know who've got a lot of guilt on their shoulders. There's a lot on top of their heads. So these narcissists think they come into contact with me and they panic because they've already got a lot to hide about their crimes. So this landlady has clearly gotten away with things in her life because she didn't care. She had it in her mind that she was just going to do what she was going to do to me. So anyway, so Peter, I talked to Peter about this manager, and I had to rebook in another hotel, which is interesting because I went back to the hotel that I previously mentioned in another video prior to this, where this receptionist and the manager had made up these stories at the very last minute. Mentally ill people. Just because I said, could you look after a couple of bags for me behind reception? Oh, last time you were here, you broke this, you did that, you did that. You accused us of stealing things. Hang on, whoa, where's all this come from? And then these demented people, this is what they're doing in the hotels. I end up then speaking to the owner of that hotel on the seafront down Royal Parade, and I'm not going to say which hotel it is. It's not the Strand, I can tell you that. But I told him about what happened at the Strand, the hotel that was on GB News for illegal immigrants, how I was abused there, blah, blah, blah. And this hotel owner, I just checked in. I had to check into that hotel, which was over £100 a night. And I bumped into the hotel owner again, and I said, "Oh, funnily enough, I've just booked into your hotel because I've just had another really bad experience in another hotel." Now, I told Peter about Alan, whose father is what late father was an interceptor who had to stop Peter Townsend from marrying Princess Margaret. How Alan, who wants to expose his paedophile headmaster from decades ago, that Alan knows about the abuse in the Eastbourne hotels. I mean, as I said, I had to say to Amal that upon checking out of this hotel for just one night on Sunday night, before getting the abuse from that Muslim manager, I had to explain to Amal, the Indian manager of this hotel, that I had got abuse again from this member of staff who's from London, whom had the audacity to accuse me, to threaten me with police because I hadn't dried my hair yet. Bearing in mind I've got a severe disability, apparently mobility issues, and I could have called the police when I witnessed him assaulting the boy who looked about 16. There's a boy who was helping one of the room assistants. He pushed the room assistant a few weeks back. He assaulted, just pushed him out of frustration. I could have called the police to report him assaulting one of his own members of staff. And there he is calling, saying, if you don't get, I said, so you're threatening to call the police because I haven't checked out on time because I've got wet hair. What do you want them to do? Take me out of here naked? I said, I'll pay for a late checkout. We don't do late checkouts. Yes, you do. You can't have it. Well, you're going to have to. And then, when I was checking out of here to go to that other hotel where with the incident that I've just described, I then heard him being rude to a woman who was going to check in and said, no, we're not staying here, and I don't appreciate the way you're speaking to me. People who work in hospitality shouldn't speak like that. So that's my therapy. As I said, had Peter not said to me, I'd like to hug and kiss you, I'd be okay, but he spoilt it. So this GP that's gone back to New Zealand, I'd love to have him as my GP. But then on the other hand, I was telling him about Dr. Stewart, my GP, who texts me to say, you spent 4 hours with a doctor who did nothing, and she's retired as well. So, like I said, I went through all the horror stories with him and how I got a threat, how me and an elderly man got a threat of police by a Dr. Carrow who was meant to email the council about my homelessness, my illegal homelessness. And now they've deregistered me after reporting me missing. And oh my gosh, this country, they're killing us. They're actually murdering us. And this GP from New Zealand has said to me, there's got to be a process for doing things. I said, yes. So I might just do what Darren has suggested, which is to go to Hailsham, go to this medical practice and tell them what my local MP has done, what the MP caseworker has done, because this is just demented. This is mental illness off the scale. We have got millionaires leaving the UK because people are doing the hell what they like, left, right, and centre. We're talking about the professionals who are demented. When there's no one that you can turn to, you see what I mean. So this is my therapy. So there we go. I'm now going to read. I'm going to read. It's been 2 hours and 15 minutes. I'm going to read Darren's email, me. But more importantly, I need to send an email to this solicitor because Eastbourne Borough Council are fobbing him off with lies. We can't find Bryony's housing file. Well, that is exactly what Ewan Morrison, the MP caseworker, said, and he hasn't got back to me. And I want to make sure that this solicitor is going to do what should have been done. This landlady should have been committed to prison. She's got my valuables, and he needs to get the file from Mr. Holden that's got all this information that he's asking for. I mean, I can't cope. I can't cope. I can't cope. So believe me, if it's the last thing I ever say, you're going to know what has happened to Bryony, and you're going to know which narcissists are involved in the continuous abuse of me, illegal abuse and corruption. Shalom Yahweh, because he is the only way. Darren's not wrong about that.